Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome back to our Getting Started in Beekeeping series for 2017. We're fast approaching the end of our honey flow. I hope that that super that we've got here is going to be fully capped and that soon we'll be able to take it off and extract. But today it's rather grey and overcast. It's been trying to rain. It's a little bit cool, and so we're just going to carry out a basic inspection that we would do on a weekly basis through the active season. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen, and don't forget to hit the little bell symbol, and that will give you an alert each time that we upload a new video. Our Facebook group continues to grow, and if you haven't yet popped over and taken a look, please do come over and have a look at our group. It's called Stuart's Beekeeping Basics, and it's designed to help beekeepers, both old and new, with any questions, tips and techniques that they might have or that they might want to share with other beekeepers. We've also got our Instagram and Twitter feeds, and don't forget to take a look at our Patreon page, which is where you can help support us in producing these videos. And I'll leave all of the information to all of those in the description below. So let's get the smoker lit and head into the apiary. So again, a little gentle smoke at the entrance of the hive, and then we can take the roof off, which is now propelised quite firmly, so that gets stuck, especially when it's cooler. Lots of bees, and now you can see some of these bees are being quite defensive. We'll see if we can find some that are popping their abdomens high in the air and exposing the sting. So this bee, where my finger is, has just been raising her abdomen and exposing a sting because they don't want us to be interfering with their colony. If I just touch one or two bees, you can see that they just raise their abdomen. So as a beginner, you just want to avoid putting your hand down on any of the bees that have raised their abdomens, because obviously their sting is going to be ready to catch you out. So a little bit of smoke just across the top, and then as before we're going to take the super off and lift it down onto the roof so that we can inspect the brood chamber. And that's really quite heavy now, which is good. Now these bees have been quite pleasant to handle all summer, so hopefully this cooler weather isn't going to bother them too much, but you can never be sure. And I would anticipate that with it being a little bit grey and showery, that they might be less friendly than they have been in the past. Well, I've chosen a day where there aren't many people up at the allotments, so again we're just going to break this seal at the end before we lift out this first frame. Remember, this is the frame that I want to replace. And we've got a diminishing brood area in this frame now, so the bees are reducing the area that they have brood in, and they're filling the area around it with stores. So we'll just have a look on the other side, and the same this side. So you can see that we've got a much smaller brood area. There are no eggs in the cells around it, so the queen isn't laying around it. So maybe next week when we come to take a look, this frame may be completely clear, although we have still got some young larvae there, so it might be an additional week. So the bees are already letting me know that they're not happy with me being in the hive. There is a lot more bees in the air. This is the frame of drone brood, and you can see that this is the frame that has the queen on it. So the queen, because we've marked her with the yellow dot, is right in the middle and very easy to see. So we'll pop them back in. So all I'm really interested in today is to just check to see if we have any queen cells, but I don't want to be in the colony any longer than necessary, so I'm just going to whiz through it. As I pull it out, I'm looking down the frame, looking at the bees, both sides, checking for queen cells, and at the same time just having a look at the bees, the brood cappings, just to make sure that everything is okay. But I don't want to unduly upset the bees and expose the brood nest to cooler temperatures for any longer than I need to. So it's a very quick inspection. Frame looks good on both sides, lots of brood, and straight back in. And as we've gone through the season, hopefully those of you that have bees and are inspecting your own bees are building your confidence in your ability to handle your bees, and inspecting is taking less time, and you've got perhaps more time to enjoy what you're seeing, a little less stressful. Use the smoker to keep control of the bees so that the bees are not building up on the top of the frames and causing you any problems. Here we've got a nice frame of brood on both sides. There's still some drone brood being raised, and that will continue perhaps for a few weeks longer. And as it cools down, the propolis becomes ever more difficult to prise apart, so you just have to be a little bit cautious with the use of the hive tool and not snap the frame open and jar the bees. So just apply gentle, firm pressure, but continual pressure. Don't snap at the hive tool, just gently ease it away on both sides using the pivot point of whatever hive tool you choose to use. Again, looking at this frame, lots of young larvae. We've got a rudimentary queen cup on the reverse side, so let's just take a look at that. So that's up here, and we'd class that as being in a supersedure position, but this is a new queen, and I don't really see that there'd be any need to supersede her, and in fact it's empty, so there's no problems with that. That frame can go back in, and as the season progresses, the desire to swarm will diminish to the point where they will no longer produce queen cells, and then eventually they'll be more focused on gathering their stores and producing brood for the winter months ahead. And then eventually all of the drones, the male bees, will be dragged out of the colony so that there will only be workers remaining. So only the female workers will overwinter. There won't be any drones in the colony. And now we're through to the other side of the brood nest, and these remaining frames are just stores. Just move the bees away so that we don't crush any, just in here. And so I won't inspect these last two frames, and now we can close up the brood box. And as usual, I move all of the frames together, and then a little bit of smoke to ease the bees away from the point at which they may get pinched. And then we can pop our final frame in, and again I'm just going to shake the bees off this frame so that we can ease it in. Otherwise all of these bees on the reverse side will get rolled and some will get crushed, and we don't want that to happen. So gentle shake, the bees come off, most of them run down through the frames, some will take to the air, but generally they've all been fairly well behaved today. And the bees are certainly more around the veil today. They're not happy that we're inspecting them today. They don't want me getting into the hive. So as quickly as possible, and then we can get them shut up again, and then they're fine. We'll just take this little bit of comb off the top, queen excluder back on at an angle, and then gently just wiggle it across, and that will prevent crushing hopefully any bees, but as few as possible. Unfortunately, there are always one or two casualties. So that's the inspection done. Let's just close a little bit of smoke, and then we'll get the super back on. And again, wiggled on at an angle just to push, gently brush the bees away. And then we'll just have another look. I wouldn't normally go into the super again so quickly. We checked last week. But what I'd like to do is to just show you how far the bees have progressed. And for me personally, here in the UK, I would remove all of my supers at the end of July, and then allow the bees any additional forage, of which there won't be much, but we'll allow any additional forage for them. So the bees are almost to the end of the super now in capping, and I've had several questions about how do you check to see if the honey is ready to be extracted, and there's a simple process where you don't need any equipment to test the water content, and it's the water content really that we're concerned about, because if the water content is above 20%, then it will mean that there's potential for it to allow yeasts that are found naturally in it to ferment, and you don't want your honey to ferment. Moulds will grow, and generally it's not good. So less than 20%. So here you can see we've got a frame where maybe 3/4 is uncapped. The bees are still working it, and we'd like to check to see whether this is ready. So what we're going to do is just shake the bees off. So we get all the bees off, and then we take the frame, turn it on its side and shake, and if the nectar drips out onto the top bars, then it means it's still too high water concentration, too high water percentage, and you can't extract it. But you can see that no nectar, I hope you could see that nothing's dripping out, and this is, although it's not capped, we would class this as ripe enough for us to now take it away and extract it. So next week we'll show you how we remove the super using one of our clearer boards, and then we can go through the process of extracting the honey from the super frames. So all that remains now is to just get the crown board back on, just knock all the bees off. Again, pop it on, give it a wiggle. Doesn't matter necessarily which way round it goes. Just scrape off some of the propolis that the bees have been placing on the board edge, around the crown board edge, and that will make it a little bit easier for us next week when we come to take it off. And now we can pop the roof back on. Another inspection completed. So we managed to complete the inspection just in time. It's just started raining, and we've taken cover back in the pickup. A good inspection, everything looks fine. The bees are starting to move stores around in the brood box, and as you saw, the brood box appears to be beginning to shrink in size, and that's good news, because it means that that frame on the outside is one that I can remove possibly next week or the week after. The super looked great, and the honey in that super is now ready to come off and be extracted, and I'll be removing all of the supers from all of my colonies scattered around the different apiaries over the next week or so. Well, I hope you found that interesting, and do catch up with us again next week when we'll be taking that super off and then showing you how we extract all of the honey. Thanks for watching.